In this video, we're checking out a pretty unique offering from Anycubic, and it's the Kobra 3 combo. And the combo is what's unique about it, as it comes with multicolor printing and other interesting features. So I'm pretty excited to check it out. So in this video, we're going to unbox it, set it up, and do some prints. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Alright, so this is the Kobra 3 combo. So the box it comes in is not too large, decent size, and there's not much information on it. Not even the size. We do have some handles here, which is nice. And the shipping label says 39 pounds. So let's go ahead and open it up. And this is how it's packed. So we got a bag. So it's possible you could probably just pull on this bag and get it out. I'm just gonna flip it over and dump it out. And as you guys can see, very well packed. Lots of foam. So we do have layers. That's our top one. So we can kind of see the printer here. Maybe it needs to go like this. Another section, quite a few parts and pieces. A user manual also, very nicely packed. And also we have the print head. And we'll go through all this stuff in a bit. So here we can kind of see the printer poking up. And right in front of you here, we have the combo box. Okay, so this is a separate piece that kind of slides out. Let's go ahead and pull this foam out. And this is what it looks like. It's like enclosed. Got some rubber feet, very nicely constructed. And this lid does open. Looks like we have a lock and unlock. Well, that's pretty exciting and definitely feels like a really well built box here. All right, so now we can really see the printer. Again, encased in all this foam, so very well protected. And we can go ahead and grab it on the top and kind of pull it up. And that makes it everything. And as you probably guys can see, it is pre-built. We just have to connect a few things and set it all up. All right, so first things first, let's check out what's in the manual here. You can see a picture of what it all looks connected. We've got some barcodes here, what everything is and what it's called. All the different parts and connections to the ACE Pro. Everything that's included, which also has the technical specifications below that. And then we have step one, which for step one, we're going to be connecting, looks like the cable to the hot end, and then installing the hot end assembly onto the cradle which it rolls on, which there are 4 M36 bolts. And so let's look real quick through all this. So we got the main hot end assembly. So this is going to be the multi-port injection here on top. There's a release arm here. You can kind of see a motor here. The heat break, the heat block with the tip. It is silicone insulated. We got fan shrouds blowing on each side. There's also an LED light. Here's some venting here. You can kind of see electronics in there. And another lever here. It also looks like maybe the cutter or something, but yeah, very nicely designed. And the front fascia here is blacked out and looks really good. So here we have a bracket, looks like a clean out of some sort, a mechanism, which is pretty cool looking. We get a little baggie of accessories. We got some test filament in there. Comes with the PTF tubing. We got the USB thumb drive there, some accessories, bolts, adapters, needles, comb brush, Allen wrenches. Yeah, our spool holder looks like it's in 2 pieces. So this is going to be for the single setup, which goes together just like that. A couple power cables, one for the machine and the other for the multi-printing box. We also get this interconnecting cable between the printer and the box. And the last piece here is we have the screen, and it's got a pretty beefy bracket here that looks like it's adjustable. Okay, yeah, so it does move up and down. and it's got a nice weight to it. All right, hopefully you guys can see, but if we go to the side here, you can see we got some orange cables, and these are output cables to the nozzle, which is like a USB type C. So let's cut those loose. That the one that goes to the nozzle is quite a bit longer, and also there's like a little special place where it kind of slots in. So according to the manual, we just plug this into there. And just like that, it does appear that you can put a couple little bolts in there, which the manual does show. They're M2 by 14, and they're going to be in this bag with all of our hardware. So here it actually says number 1, I guess for step 1, or print head cable. Grab the correct wrench, which is the smallest one, and we're simply just going to put the bolt in the hole and then screw it in. So you don't want to make this tight at all, just get to the end and barely snug it, and that should be good enough. All right, that looks good. So for the next part, we're going to install it here on the cradle. I'm going to go ahead and grab the belt in the back and spin it so we can lower it a bit. So naturally, the next step is number 2 for the print head. And so we're going to connect this to the cradle. So our little bolt will go through the back, and then we're going to grab this and make sure your cable is pretty happy. We're going to line it up and then start the bolt in the back. Let's flip this around so maybe you guys can see a little better. You can kind of see where these white circles are. That's where the bolts go, and there's 4 of them. 2 on the lower part and then 2 on the upper part. So it looks like the upper part you can actually pre-install them, and then it kind of slides down into. But yeah, pretty straightforward here so far with putting this thing together. And these you want to snug up pretty well, as our print head is going to be traveling at quick speeds. All right, well that should be good. So for the next part, it wants us to install the screen, which is down here. Let's go ahead and untape this. And we can see the 2 mounting threads, our screen. These are the 2 holes that will line up with these, like this. And the number 3 pouch is the one that's gonna say for touchscreen. So yeah, again, they made it very simple and easy to assemble this thing. And these bolts are kind of long, so it will take a little bit here to run them down. So now we can snug them up. And that's good right there. So now we can go ahead and plug in the ribbon cable, which goes back here. And so it looks like it's gonna bend this way, yeah. So with the leads exposed going down like that. So be careful with this, as it is a ribbon cable. Make sure you line it up and then just kind of push on both ends and it should snap in there. And this is what the ribbon cable looks like. It kind of curves. So yeah, and that's our screen. What's cool about it, it's actually functional. So if we go back to the other side, we see this other cable and plugs in under here, which there's a plug. Hopefully you guys can see right there. So this literally just plugs in right in there. Yeah, this longer one goes to the head, and then this one goes here to the side. So for step 5, we're going to be installing a cable holder, which goes on the side. And it's this little guy here. Here on the back we can see this is where it's going to slot. Yeah, it looks like it holds our tubings and also our cable here on the side. So right here, if we see, there's a slot. This literally just slides down like that, and then this cable here with the marked indentions clicks right in there, and just like that. And now cable's kind of out of the way. So for step 6, we're going to be installing the purge wiper, and that's this thing here, and that's going to go on this side right here. You guys could maybe see a little white circle. This is actually where this piece right here lines up. There's a little hole here for the pin to go in. It literally goes in just like that. And there's 2 bolts. One goes through here, and then one goes on the bottom. And that's going to be the bag 4. We can see the longer screw and the shorter bolt. So the shorter bolt goes through the back, which there's threads. And the longer screw goes from the bottom up. And I recommend putting the bottom one in first, so it kind of tightens it up. And then we can go ahead and tighten the bolt in the back. Snug it up, and we are good. And here on the other side, we can kind of see how the mechanism works. So when we go over, there's a magnet that magnetizes and then pulls on this and releases. So for next part, we're going to install the tubing, which if you're doing single printing, that's what you'll install. And then also the spool holder that goes on the back corner there on the left side. And then after that, we go into the ACE Pro, which we'll probably separate this into 2 parts. We'll do the single first and get it ready. And then we'll get to the ACE Pro and set it all up and do some printing with that. So let's grab this included tubing, and that'll go right here. So there's a blue clip that we need to pull out first. And then we're gonna put the PTF in there, the tubing, then raise the little coupler and slide the blue clip underneath there. So it kind of holds it all together, and this keeps the tubing from popping off. And so on our hot end, we can choose any of these 4, as they should all split into one, and it doesn't really matter which one you plug it into. So I'm just gonna plug it here into the front right. Again, you wanna hold this up while pushing it in. That way it locks in. And to take it out, it's the same way. You push the little black ring coupler down, and then you can pull it out. So quite simple, but when you put it in first time, you need to kind of put pressure down and then pull up the black little coupler. So that just helps it lock it. So, and we can also use these little rings that are included to manage our cables. So they just simply click into the wire and then into the tubing and kind of keep it all together and organized looking. So yeah, so far so good. And all we got to do is slide on our spool holder. Well, I guess I did install this wrong. It goes this way, right here on the back. And just like that. So our filament will go on the spool and then roll out underneath here through the holder that we installed, through the tube into the hot end. All right, so let's take a closer look at this combo. So we can see that we got metal, plastic ends. Overall seems like a very good quality build. We can see the belt because our Z leads are dual and they're tethered. Our main X axis is also very nice and beefy. We got rail rods with metal rollers for the X. And then for the Z, we got the standard V slots plastic rollers, which is fine as it doesn't move up and down as much as it goes side to side. This is our clean out mechanism here. So whenever the nozzle gets to here, it magnetizes. If I can show you guys closer here, kind of see right there. So it grabs it and then you can kind of see this clean out part goes with it, and then when this releases it throws it that way. So, and if we go to the other side, we can see we have another arm here and it pushes on this lever on this side like that. So that looks like is the cutter. So the hot end is pretty unique. We got this tower here where all of our PTFE tubings will plug in from the ACE Pro box. Here we have the main cable to the head that controls everything. Pretty clean look. We got this nice black cover in the front. It does actually pop off where you can see the fan there. Well, it's a pretty large axial fan, and that's going to be for the blower on the parts cooling underneath. So we do have silicone sock, brass nozzle, so we can hit pretty high temperatures up to 300 C and 110 C on the bed. And on this side you guys can kind of see some venting there. So flipping around, we can see in the back the two leads. Again, they're tethered. The ends here are all metal brackets. This part's plastic here. There's somewhat a mechanism. Same thing for this side. We can see the motor there in the back of the hot end for the extruder. There's the 4 bolts that we put in to install this. It looks good here from the back. You can see our belt connects on the inside of the channel. And by the way, this belt is adjustable here. And going all the way to this side, we can see the motor for the X-axis. This bracket here that we installed, nicely organized. PTFE tubing for the single. And then we got the 4 for the ACE Pro. V rollers, single motor for the Z axis. It's a pretty large motor, but since it is tethered, we just got a bearing on this side, which is quite interesting. I haven't seen it this way. And going to the very back here, we have the Y motor, also pretty large. Our belt here. The frame, very nicely built. Everything's metal. Here we have the voltage selection between 115 and 230. So make sure you're on the correct voltage. We are here on 115 and it is switched to the correct one. Nicely organized cables. Pretty thick cable here coming to the bed. Strain relieved. Looks like we got sensors under there. And on the back here on the top, we can see a little brush here where the nozzle cleans out. And in this corner here, we have the spool holder that just kind of slides on if you're going to use the single filament option. And right in the back beside the spool holder we have the power input port, so it is fused with an on and off switch. We got a couple orange cables coming out here. Let's go ahead and get this foam out. So that brings us to the build plate, which is 250 by 250 and 260 tall is our build volume. We got a double-sided PEI sheet, which is good for PLA, ABS, and PETG. It is magnetic. And we can see the other side, same texture. There is kind of like a slot where it lines up, so it's not hard at all. You just kind of go to that corner and it falls right in. And here's our magnetic mat underneath. It is an aluminum bed. It is not insulated. Technically not a big deal for the size. Metal frame there. We are also running on rails with metal rollers, so that should give us a lot of precision. And then here we have the adjustment for our belt on the Y-axis. So going to the front, we got a little cover here. So if you weren't going to use any of these, you could cover it. But if you are, I guess this cover just kind of sits like that. So this is going to be connecting to our ACE Pro. And then we have 2 USB ports, which is nice. They put 2. You can use one, let's say, for the camera and one for like a thumb drive. Then going to this side, we just have a number 3 for Kobra 3. Pretty clean there. And here we have the manufacturing label, the name, the print volume, size of the machine, and it weighs 9.2 kilograms with the 400 watt power supply. But on this side, we have our touchscreen. It's a decent size, got pretty large bezels. Let's go ahead and peel this protector, but should do the job just fine. And what's cool about the screen is that it can swivel or move up and down here to get the right angle that you want. which is really cool. So it's almost standing up straight there and leaning all the way down. So very nice. And here I got the printer tilted on the side so we can see a little better underneath. So we can see the channels. Looks like our main board is under here. There's a pretty large fan cooling it. Some wires, our power supply. And yeah, very well built. And these rubber feet are pretty large and squishy. So yeah, everything looks really good. As far as the printer itself, let's take a closer look at the ACE Pro. We do have this plastic wrap around it. So this is kind of like a cabinet with the top door that's kind of misted in dark black that opens up, and you do have to unlock it here. You can see the lock and unlock. So what's unique about this thing is it could actually be used like a dry box also. So here we have the PTF tubing to interconnect between the box and the printer. And there's some instructions on how to do that. Here on the inside, we can see there's some venting, separation between the rolls. We can see plastic rollers. And on the front, we got rollers also that are very smooth. 4 spools will go here, and each spool will feed into input port here, which will grab it and then send it to the machine. So let's close the lid for now. Lock it. You guys can see what it looks like on the side, on the other side, and on the back, the manufacturing label there. And go into this corner, we'll have the inputs, which is the communication between the box and the printer. And the reason there's 2, because one of them is an extension to another box. So you can have 2 boxes, up to 8 different filaments that can be fed to one printer. We got a little fan there for cooling. These are our output ports where our PTF tubing is going to go from here to the printer, and then to this side we have the input power with an on and off switch. And this is what the bottom looks like. We have pretty nice squishy long rubber feet on the 4 corners. All right, so we got the machine plugged in on the side there. Let's go ahead and power it on. Okay, so boots up almost immediately. Fans came on. Light here, and looks like we do have a startup wizard. So hopefully you guys can see the screen because it can tilt. So it's asking for language. English is selected. We'll click next. Area, so you're going to choose global unless you're in China. Now we're going to enter our Wi-Fi network. So you're going to choose your network and then log into it. And you will need this for remote access for the app and just connecting to the printer. But if you want to do it manual, you can skip. I'm going to go ahead and log in. It's connecting and it's confirmed. So we are good there. Let's go to the next step. So here you can scan a barcode to download the Anycubic app where you can control the printer from. And I'm probably going to do that a bit later, so let's skip it. And I guess that's it. Here it says enjoy your 3D printing. So we do have more steps. It wants us to insert the USB thumb drive that came with the printer. So we're going to open up this little door, and I guess we can plug it anywhere. All right, so looks like it's doing something. There we go. So that looks like it's a code for doing the checks, which is interesting that they put it on a thumb drive. So all the axes passed. Now it's going down. So it's got the X and Y check mark. Now it's checking the Z axis. All right. And now it's going to do outer leveling. So everything looks quite automated here. Preheating to 170. Alright, so it's using the little brush in the back to wipe the nozzle, cooling the nozzle back down. Alright, now it looks like it's probing the bed, and it's actually touching it with the nozzle. So it looks like it's using a strain relief type of sensor inside to sense the pressure. Alright, so the leveling's done. Now we're going to start the resonance compensation. Confirm. And there it goes. You can see it kind of shaking around. So it's going to do the X, and then it's going to do the Y, which is the bed. And maybe you guys can hear it. It's starting to vibrate. Alright, now we got the Y going. Alright, so we're done with the resonance. So let's click on finish. And it looks like we got the main menu here, and we're in the settings, which is interesting. Let's see, what is this? Okay, so this is to print. That's the material section. And then we got the tools section, and we can preheat here. So let's click on PLA. We can see our temperatures have set 210 and 60. So the bed's already at 60 and the nozzle's going up. Let's see, do we have a file in here? Okay, so we do have something here. It's on the disk. Okay, so if we go to local, we can see there's a test model. So let's take a closer look here at the screen. So we have our temperatures on the top for the bed and nozzle, some more icons there, Anycubic logo. We got a big print button here as we're selected on print, and we have a few selections on the bottom. So this is going to naturally read the SD card. You also have local, cloud, and history. Here we have filaments. So here you can extrude, retract. You can choose the type of filament here. And then we got more stuff for the Multicolor ACE Pro. So the next one over is tools, and here we can preheat. We have hot buttons for ABS and PLA. Also we have a cool down button. We have axes move. You can home the printer from here or move individual axes. And also here we have auto leveling, resonance calibration, and PID calibration. And then at the end here we have settings, print option. So you can turn off the sounds if you want. You can turn off the filament detector, the light. Looks like here we have more detections of belt and AI, which is quite interesting. Fan controls. The screen off lets you control when the screen goes into sleep mode. So I'll probably choose never since I'm filming. Here we can connect to the cloud. We also have lane only mode, which is grayed out. Support, and if we go down, guide, language, and by the way, there's only 2 languages. About the machine, and actually here it says firmware update. So I guess there's an update. Let's go ahead and update it. But yeah, that was pretty much all of the settings there. Alright, so it's restarting. Alright, and we're back on our main menu. And the screen is very responsive and very good brightness, and I love this tilt function. So I'm going to use my own spool of this gray. It is hyper gray, so it's for fast printing. And if we move this to the side, you guys can see that the spool goes behind, and then the filament kind of rolls out from the bottom up to the little bracket here where it goes through the tube. And we do have to push it all the way down into the extruder. And maybe you guys can see it right there going through. So I'm just butting against whatever's in there, and hopefully it'll grab it. So let's click on the test. Okay, so there are actually more folders inside that folder. So we got a benchy here, a shark of some sort. So I guess we'll go with the benchy. There's a 39-minute benchy and a hyper speed 12-minute benchy, looks like. So maybe let's start with the slower one, and then we'll compare the really fast one to this 40-minute benchy or 39 minutes. So we'll click on print, and there it goes. Grab this little booger. And actually, we probably should have purged the filament. I didn't think about that, but let's see what happens. Maybe it'll kind of purge it itself here. Okay, so it's cleaning itself off. Cooling back down. I guess it's going to do the probing again. It's really want to check really good the center. So it doesn't heat up as fast as you'd expect. It's a reasonable amount, but not that quick. Okay, I can feel that it grabbed the filament, but I'm not sure if it's enough by the time it gets down through. It's purging right now. So I made a mistake of not starting it or purging it in the beginning, but it does. Okay, it's flowing pretty quick there. So, all right, so it's, I guess, not so bad. We did have a little purge, and away it goes. So this is going to be the 40-minute benchy. And you guys probably can't see very well because of that little light. Let's see, can I turn that off? Oh, okay, we can. Probably can't see anyways, but zoom you guys in. But yeah, you guys can see it actually started perfectly, and the offset appears to be just right. Now when you do turn on the LED, the Anycubic logo up here glows too, which is really awesome. And by the way, the printer is very quiet, mostly fan noise. Barely any motor noise of any kind. So while it's printing, this is what we see. We got the bed temperature, the nozzle temperature, USB I guess plugged in, and something else there. The G-code file name. Then we got a little preview of what we're printing. A progress bar, the percentage it's done, and it's quite fractional. The time passed, just 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Again, our bed and nozzle temperatures. We got our speeds here. It's on standard. The fan's at 99%. Here we have filament or material, which is grayed out as we're not connected to our ACE Pro. And then we have settings, which we'll click in a second. And on the very bottom, we got a big pause and stop button. So let's click on settings. And this is where we can control the LED, and also you can control the Z-axis offset. So right now it's set to 0.07, and you can adjust that up or down. So if you need to go up a little, you can change it here or down, same, and then you'll just save it. So I'm going to cancel since we are pretty much perfect. But yeah, pretty straightforward and very nice screen. So yeah, this thing is boogieing along and everything looks good. And the screen does dim down or completely turn off when you're printing after a bit. So it took exactly 40 minutes and 45 seconds. Still hot. Let's see. Yeah, it's holding on really good. That's a good sign. So we can pull this off. Cool it on the table just for a few seconds. And it should pop right off. Look at that. Very cool. Alright, so let's do this 12-minute benchy. Wow, that was an incredible start. Oh man, it's going crazy. It's shaking the whole table. This is definitely its maximum speed. Alright, so we got the two benchies, and the second one took 11 minutes and 26 seconds, which is insane. For a bed slinger type, that's very quick, and as we'll probably see, not too practical either. But so let's check out the 40-minute benchy, and keep in mind guys, this is like gray, light gray, so you can see everything in here. So the bottom looks really good. Actually, I would say almost perfect. Might be a little close to the build plate. Seems to be a small elephant foot. Very slight though. We can see the walls are beautiful. Pretty much perfect, I would say. The hashtag 3D benchy back there is practically unseen. So that's interesting. And yeah, everything else looks also really good. The walls here, the overhangs, very reasonable. It's a little more inconsistent here, but there's a lot of retractions. And we do have a bit of stringing, which can be adjusted in the slicer. And the chimney looks okay too. So I wouldn't say, you know, this is the better benchies, but I would say it's mid-grade benchy for today's standards. But keep in mind, this is 40 minutes, which is still very quick for a print like this. And then we got this guy, which is the 12-minute benchy. And you guys can see, even though it completed, it's very droopy and yeah, just all melted. And yeah, it's impressive that it could do it in 12 minutes, but it's also not practical as it loses a lot of its shape. And we can really see how droopy and melty and not really all that great. It is optimized to print this fast, but it still didn't do too great of a job at these kind of speeds. So I definitely think that printing around 250 to 300 or maybe even 200 would probably be a better speed for this printer to get that good balance between quality and speed. So for the next part, let's go ahead and connect the ACE Pro, and we'll try to print a multicolor print and see how that goes. So first things first, let's go ahead and pull our filament out. I'll click on retract. So it's gonna preheat and do all that for me. All right, so it's retracting. Okay, I can feel it coming out. And there it goes, it's cut loose. So we need to go ahead and take the PTF tubing off, because we're going to use the new one. So we're just going to push on the coupler and pull it out, release the clip here, and do the same thing, and it comes out really easy. So installing the ACE Pro on the Kobra 3 is not too hard. And the manual here kind of goes over of everything we need to do. So it's pretty straightforward. We just need to connect all of the PTF hoses and the interconnecting cable. So in this bag we have our PTF tubes, and they're all kind of separated on their own, and we do get some instructions here, pretty much the same as the manual was showing. So it doesn't really matter which part you do first. I'm going to go ahead and slot them through here. So in this bracket there's 4 holes or slots for these tubes to go through, so you just kind of feed them through there one by one. So because they're all separated, you kind of have to hold them together to keep them organized. But yeah, pretty much that's how they're going to go. And then from here they're going to go to the hot end here, and these little star clips is what's going to hold them all together. So you want to connect these tubes in the same order that you have them pushing through the bracket into the hot end on the top. That way they're all very organized. So we'll just do them one by one here. So this corner here is the back right corner, so that's where we're going to install that one. So when you push it in there, you want to raise the little coupler, little black piece, and we're going to make it about the same length as this wire here. And we're going to clip it on our little star brackets there. So pretty much we're just doing routing here. Alright, well, I'm pretty happy with that. That all looks very nice and even, and everything flows together. So hopefully you guys saw that. Not very complicated here. And technically we don't need the spool holder anymore, so I'm gonna also remove it. And if we turn the ACE Pro around, you guys can see where we're gonna plug these in into the 4 different couplers. And so it doesn't really matter which one goes where, because they all lead to the same splitter here. But what does matter is that they're not tangled up and they kind of flow nicely to the back here. And so here we're gonna have to pull out these little blue locking clips. And then once those are all out, we can plug each of these in here. And then also our power cord will plug in right here. And then our interconnecting cable, which is this guy here, will plug in right there. And the other side goes to the front of the printer. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing around. That way I can route these tubes a little better. It's hard to tell when it's facing the wrong way, how they should go. And so here from a different angle, you guys probably see a little better. We can plug all this stuff in. Again, it doesn't really matter what goes where. Put our little blue locking clips in to secure the PTF tubing. And just like that, all of them are in. Let's go ahead and plug in our power cable. And we're all connected in the back. So now we can kind of set it up where our little tubes are happy. And so now this cable that comes from the back, it's the communication cable, will plug in right here in the front next to the USB ports. And now we're connected to the ACE Pro. All right, so let's hit the power button here in the back. All right, so I can hear it doing something. Go ahead and open the lid. So now we need to load this up with filament. And I got some really nice Anycubic PLA. And they do sell these as a kit. 4 different colors. And these are the colors that we have, which is the peach fuzz, the spring leaf, tropical turquoise, and interstellar violet. So yeah, pretty nice colors that are quite neutral. By the way, guys, the ACE Pro was asking for a firmware update, and that's what it just did. And I heard it restart, and we actually got a new menu that popped up. But let's go ahead and load up our filament. Yeah, that's a really nice color. So this is the interstellar violet. So we'll put this as number 1, and there are rollers in there. Seems to roll pretty easily. Got the filament on an angle. And we're just gonna literally insert it into this hole where it says number 1. And there's actually a light here that blinks, showing that, you know, there's something in there. Here we have the tropical turquoise, which is absolutely beautiful. And we'll set that as number 2. All right, let's grab it. Here we have the spring leaf. Put that as number 3. There we go. And this spool is a little bent, so it's not wanting to turn as easy. And yeah, because these are paper spools or cardboard, if they have any kind of damage to the edges, it might have a hard time turning it. And the peach fuzz will go on number 4. All right, so our filament is loaded. I'm trying to get everything here in frame, and you guys can see maybe on the screen that each of the spools or filaments are color labeled. So we got violet, blue, green, and the peach. Well, actually, I'm just noticing here that on number 1, it doesn't know what it is. So the spools are RFID chipped to work with the ACE Pro Kobra 3 combo. And we can select each one here, and let's just say we can extrude it, see what happens. Okay, so it's gonna heat up. All right, so it is pulling number 1, which is our purple there. And actually it seems fine. So far so good. But I do have to say it's not spinning as smooth as I would like. And here it comes, I can see it here. All right, and it's actually extruding. You guys probably can't tell, right underneath. So I should spit it out here in a second. There it goes. So here's what it extruded. All right, cool. This is what we had left over. It's kind of seeped out. So all the stuff falls out on this side. And click finish. So I'm pretty sure it knows once the filament gets to here, as that's probably where the detector is. So eventually as we start printing the multicolor, I'm guessing it's gonna run them all up to here. In any case, we do have an option for a filament dryer. So that whole ACE Pro box there does have a dryer built in. So let's go ahead and click that on. It's gonna ask for the temperature, and they have presets for what filament you're using. So if we choose PLA, it's gonna go 45 Celsius for 4 hours, and you can change the time here to anything you want. So I'm just gonna put, well, let's say 8 hours. So you can kind of use it as a dry box. And the temperature does go from 35 to 55 C, that's the range. So let's click OK. So I can hear the ACE Pro, actually the fan came on, and it's gonna do filament drying now. So we can go ahead and close this top, and lock it, and it's actually pretty quiet, even though it was much louder when it was open. But it is quieter than the printer's fan. In any case, at this point, I think we're pretty much ready to print something. So under the filament tab, we can see that we're on the ACE 1, and we do have an ACE 2 button here. You can connect 2 ACE Pros together to have a total of 8 different colors, or 8 different filaments. And then our single printing here is grayed out and it's not working, obviously. So, and our dry box is heating up. It's at 33 and it's going to 45, and our timer started there. Here we also have a button called Filament Backup. Turn it on or off. I'm just gonna leave it off for now. Let's go home, click on print. So click on test model, and here we have all the provided prints, and let's see if we can find something interesting here. Okay, so we got 4 color gyro, so this could be kind of fun to print, and it shows us where the colors will be from 1 to 4. And here we can select leveling, input shaping, so you can turn that on and off, and time lapse. So you do have to have a camera connected through the USB to have a time lapse. Alright, so I guess we'll let it do the leveling and the input shaping since we have a new setup. So let's click on print, and it's actually prompting us a new menu, color match. So it's asking that it's going to turn the yellow to peach, and then the blue to that, and then the green to... So basically it's just kind of auto matching, and you can change it, I guess, to the different colors. So let's say if we wanted that to be peach, we'd click peach here, and this to be whatever else. So to select the first one, it says choose a color. I guess we'll choose, it's kind of like a violet. Is this a violet? Oh yeah, it is. Interstellar violet. So we got that correct. Save. So if you're happy with that, click on print, and it's going to start our print. Hopefully we can see everything here. Yeah, one thing I didn't think about is that this might need to be a little longer here. Well, actually no, it's perfect because the cord is the same length. Yeah, that should be fine. And there it goes. Alright, so it's done with the leveling and the compensation. Now it's preheating, looks like. The bed to 65 and the nozzles at 170 at this point. So I guess it's still getting ready. Alright, so now we're just waiting for it to heat up. It's going to 230. Alright, so it is pulling the violet in. Okay, so extrusion is good. Offset looks perfect. So it's pulling back the violet now. You guys can see that in the corner there. And now pulling in the peach. Okay, I can tell that spool is not wound very well because the filament's kind of stuck in between there. But it's making it though, it's going. And I can see it traveling right here. So it does know when it gets to here. It's a little hard to see, but it's about right here. Well, it's okay, so it's inside now. So now the extruder should grab it, which it did. I can see it purging underneath. Pretty good amount of purging. And this is the blob it purged out. Pretty large. It's actually purging again. Alright. And it goes straight to printing. Look at that. The ACE Pro seems to be pushing or helping also in like pulses. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of retracting here. So it's done with that. So it's going to cut right now. And then after it cuts, it's going to retract. And we can see that the spool doesn't want to turn. You guys can see that or not. Okay, so it's pulling the green in. Well, we can see how the peach here never backed up. Definitely probably need better spools for this kind of printing because these cardboard spools are not great. So we're pulling in the green now. And I can see it. It's already made it through. And these are pulled out about right here. The peach and the violet. Everything seems to be okay so far. And you guys can't see it, but we did start a prime tower in the corner too. And it's shooting these little blobs pretty far out, just running out the table. We'll see how many little purges we get. Alright, so now we're doing the turquoise blue. So maybe you guys can see the purge better. So yeah, got a pretty good collection going here. I got this little border here to try to catch them. Alright, so everything looks good so far. We can see we're printing and we got a little purge tower there on the right back corner. And everything looks good. So I'm going to let it do its thing and we'll keep an eye on it. Alright guys, so here's an update. It's been more than 2 hours. It actually doesn't say the time anymore because it's not even correct. It's probably been about 2.5 hours. And it's only 34% complete. So we're looking at least 6, maybe more hours to complete this print. We can see all the purge here. It's quite a bit of it. And the ACE Pro is doing good. A couple times, since the spools don't roll really good, they kind of get tangled and I have to kind of keep an eye on it. But it's been doing alright lately for the last 30 minutes. I haven't touched it. Definitely recommend not using the paper spools, or at least not bent ones, because it doesn't seem to do very well. But other than that, pretty impressive how well the print looks. So yeah, I guess we'll see what it looks like when it's done. Alright, so the print is done and it actually took 10 hours, 9 minutes, and 15 seconds. Even though it did take a while to print, it turned out, looks like perfect. And here we can see all of the purges that kind of pooped over here. I made this little barrier for them so they don't fly everywhere. And I have to say there's quite a bit of them, and probably more than I would want. And we also have a prime tower, but it is quite thin. So let's go ahead and pull this off. So the plate's completely cooled off. Let's see how easy it comes off. Oh, look at that. It's already loose. Nice. And this thing wants to spin right away. So we also have the prime tower or block. Comes right off. Very nice build plate. And we got this little purge here. So yeah, as you guys can see, the prime tower is very thin and quite lightweight, I would say. All of this plus this is quite a bit of filament, but we do have this beautiful thing right here. So we have the 4 different filaments, as we can see: the purple, blue, peach, and green. And you guys can see this thing turned out really nice. The finish is very smooth on the outer edges on all of them. For the most part, it did all stick, nothing broke loose. Do have a little loop here. There is a little bit of overhang, you kind of see it there. But overall, I have to say, very impressed. Even though it did take 10 hours, these are really good results considering all of the retractions and filament changes that this thing had to do. So I think I'm going to print maybe another one. Let's see what else we can print here that's interesting. Some kind of shark there. So I guess we only have 2 files that they included, which one of them here is only 2 colors and is just in half. I guess I'll go ahead and print this out, and while this is printing, we'll go to the computer and see if we can slice our own print. Alright, so here we are at the computer, and I'm at the anycubic.com website. So yeah, this is basically where we're going to go to get our software. If we click on the software icon here, we're going to click on the FDM slicer, and it's going to prompt us to download for Mac or Windows. So depending on what you have, you'll choose either one. So I have Mac, so I'm going to click on Mac, and it's going to prompt to save. So after that, we're going to get a DMG file, which will open up. So if you're on Mac, you're just going to grab this and slide it to applications. And as simple as that, it's installed. So if we go to our applications, we can see we have the Anycubic slicer here. I'm going to open that up. Now ask us if we're sure. We're going to yes, open. So here we have a step-by-step, tells us to go through this. Here you can choose to improve the slicer or not. We're going to choose our printer, which is the Kobra 3. Click next. So here it asks us the kind of filaments we'll use, and everything is checked, and we'll click on finish. So simple as that. We have the slicer here. We can see our build plate. So this looks like a typical slicer. Let's click here on our configuration. Okay, so here we can kind of adjust everything, all of our parameters, kind of go through them. So we're going to leave everything the way it is. Here we have the filament tab and then the printer tab. So on the top here, we can see we're in the prepare. We also have Workbench. So if you have an account, you can log in. We also have a 3D photo, so you can upload an image and turn it into a 3D model, looks like, which is quite interesting. So let's throw in some kind of dual color print here for starters, so we can kind of see how this works. So you guys can kind of see that we do have 2 different files that combine into one. So here on the side, we have our tools. So the first one here is paint. So let's say the outer shell will be 2. And we're going to click our tool here, circle, sphere, triangle. Okay, so we got smart fill. That could be probably useful. Let's try that. Okay, so we can kind of see it draws a line. Let's just try it here.
Okay, so yeah, we can actually paint in what we want to print. So I would say it's relatively smart. So we can see we got all of our corners or sides painted. So let's say number 3 would be the X part. So as you can see, you can do the painting, but you do have to kind of try to get all these corners. But this is kind of cool because you can make the different sides of whatever color you want or filament you want. But in any case, and so the grayed out white part is actually filament number 1. So yeah, it didn't take too long to paint. So if you want to get detailed about it, you can definitely choose, actually to make this more unique, let's do this face in that color, and we'll do the top here on white. So yeah, we got quite a few colors here. 3 for this one. We do have 4 total, but if you did want to add another color, let's say this, actually let's do that. So it looks pretty good, I think. But in any case, on the side here, we have all our tools. So this is going to be to move the model, rotate it, lay on a face, scale it, mirror it, layout, cut the model in sections, paint on supports, and seam painting. So yeah, quite a lot of options. And you can definitely fine tune it to how you want it. So let's go ahead and, well, actually here in the print settings, we can see we're on the 0.08. Let's go ahead and go to the normal 0.2 millimeters. Layer height, because the 0.08 is way too fine. And fill densities is about 18%, looks like. And supports we definitely don't need. We'll click on none. And we don't need a brim either. That's just gonna make another layer on the first layer around the print to try to hold it down. And we also have a more settings button. Okay, so that just pulls up all our print settings. So we'll leave everything the way it is for now. Should be good. Let's click on slice now. It's telling us that we might need supports, which I disagree. We got a pretty large perch tower over there compared to our cube, but we are changing colors, I guess, pretty often. So here we have all of our information about how much we're going to use of each filaments. So the number 1 is going to be used the most, as it looks like. Let's see if we drag this down. All right, so it kind of splits our colors into sections. So that's good, so it evens it out somewhat. But here's the total grams, 68 on the first one, 25 on the second one. And a lot of that is mostly probably into purging and this tower. So yeah, this is, not most efficient, but if you want color printing, this is the way it works at this point. But yeah, it looks like it says it's gonna take us a total of 5 hours. The model's only 1 hour and the whole procedure is 4 hours, changing filaments. So 5 hours and 23 minutes. Kind of a lot of time for a small cube, but hey, let's go ahead and go with it. So we do have a remote print. Let's see if we can connect to the printer. Okay, so it's installing some kind of plug-in. It says successful. Okay, so we do need to log in. But for now, we'll just export it, and we'll click on export to local disk. So we're just gonna save it to our computer, and it's a G-code file. And here it is, and now we're gonna put it on our thumb drive and print it out on the printer. And so to go back from here, we're just gonna click return editor over here, and we can go back to editing. Now, there is a much simpler way to label your colors instead of, painting them like we did. Let me just throw another cube in, connect them. It's kind of like here together with this other one. And so if we clicked over here on object, you can see we have the first cube, which for some reason is not broke down in 2, but this one here has the arrow. If we click it, we can see that we have 2 pieces. So you can change what, color filament you want to use for each one, instead of, painting it like we did earlier, let's say. So yeah, that makes it quite simple. So if you have the model already broken up in, let's say, 4 different pieces, you can just do it from here in the object section. So let's go ahead and create an account. So I clicked in log in, then we're gonna click on sign up. So it's gonna need to send a code to your email. And you put this little puzzle together. And you got 60 seconds to get the email and put in the code. And you gotta make a password. All right, and our account has been created. So now we can sign in. And we are good. So I'm gonna slice these again. Now let's see if we can remote print. Let's add a printer. So you got 2 ways you can connect. You can use the app or connect via CN. Let's see what that's about. Okay, so there's like a device code. So it's gonna be in the settings menu under the cloud, the CN number there. So yeah, once you connect it, you should see your ACE Pro here with the correct colors in there. But let's go to the printer and see if we can use the QR code through the app. All right, so we're back at the printer and let's go to settings, network. So here we can scan a QR code. We're gonna use our camera. All right,
it takes us to a website, looks like. Click confirm. So it takes us to Google Play for the Anycubic app. We'll click install. Alright, let's open it up. We gotta agree to stuff. Click the login. Now I'm gonna log in. Signing in. And from here we can add the printer. Let's see if we can scan it. I think it's the same barcode. And there it goes. It says printer added successfully. Complete. And there we go. We have all of our stats there. So here we can see we got the printer, the nozzle temperatures there, the print button, got a help button, our ACE Pro filaments there. See, there's details. So you can see a little more detail here. So you can click on each one to edit it, things like that. So on the bottom here we have tools. You can move the axes from here. History, no print jobs. So yeah, it looks pretty intuitive. So now we do have the options to use the cloud, or we can click here, local disk. And we do have the dual color calibration cube that we can print straight from here. So let's go ahead and start that. So here we can toggle some options. If you had a camera, you can turn that on. Automatic bed leveling, vibration, compensation, and time lapse. So we'll leave them all off. And on the bottom there says start now. When we do that, the printer should start, and there it goes. But yeah, I just realized I was out of the screen. But yeah, while we're printing, we should have a preview here, but we don't for whatever reason. So here we have the time passed, how much is left, the layers out of 100. So here's the status, it's preheating, and you can cancel or pause. And if we keep scrolling down, we have more parameters. We have standard printing, and you can change that to quiet or sport, nozzle temperature, bed temperature, and you can adjust it all by clicking on it and setting it, which is quite helpful. Fan speed, and then we have more about the model down here. So yeah, pretty intuitive app, and everything seems to work very well. And I just stopped the print and it's canceling the operation. Also guys, on the home page down here we can see we're on the workbench. This is where our printer is, and it has recommended models, but we can also search for models that are in the cloud. So you can pretty much print straight from your phone if you wanted to, and they have quite a few interesting things in here, including color prints, which would be very cool to print for the ACE Pro. So I might print some stuff out of here. And over here we have me, which is your account and everything that has to do with that. So yeah, pretty awesome, and a great app overall that complements the Kobra 3 combo here. So printing a normal print, like a single color out of the 4 that you have in the ACE, is very simple. You just choose your file, and then you click on print, and it's going to give you an option of the 4 that you have, and you can choose whatever you want. So I'm going to choose a green one for this, and then you just print it. And as simple as that. You can choose any of the 4 for your single regular files. So we're printing another print, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you click on any of these, you can, change the parameters of that specific thing. But what's pretty cool is that if you're printing color prints or multicolors like we are right now, and by the way, I forgot to turn on my filament box, PLA, let's say 8 hours should be good. Okay. I guess another thing that I didn't mention yet is filament backup. And so what filament backup does is it uses the same color roll. Let's say you have 2 blue ones. So whenever one runs out, it'll use the second blue one and continue printing. So that's really cool if you're going to print something, more large, or I guess not so much large in this printer than just finishing a roll and starting another one, which is pretty good feature too. But the one that's quite important down here is called the purge volume. And this one here, if we click on the question mark, it explains that if you have color bleed in the print between the colors, you can add more purge time or value. And I think it started with 1.0, and I turned it to 2.0 because I did have some color bleeding. But yeah, this is quite helpful, and we can see it's from 0.1 to 3.0. So yeah, I should probably turn this down to 1.5 as I am on a different print now. That should be much better. So yeah, that could be quite useful if you have that issue. But yeah. Alright guys, so these are all the prints that we printed with the Anycubic Kobra 3 combo. So I'm quite impressed, as it definitely delivers on the multicolor printing, and just impressed with all of the features and the capabilities that we have now with combo kits like this. So there is quite a few things to talk about, but first things first, let's go ahead and look at our prints. So we started off with some single printing, which we saw some benchies over there. I actually printed 2 more benchies, and these were actually a file that was in the printer that I didn't notice right away. It was the 15-minute benchy, so it made a huge difference of the quality. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the 12-minute benchy, but that thing didn't look so good compared to this 15-minute benchy. So just a few minutes more and we're getting amazing quality. So this is just in black PLA here. Literally only took 15 minutes, and look how nice this looks. So much nicer than our 12-minute benchy. And here we have another 15-minute benchy in this green color, so you guys can see maybe a little better. So yeah, very impressive for the 15-minute compared to this 12-minute one here that we printed earlier, which looked a little droopy and overheated somewhat. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And that's what I noticed with this printer, is that slicing is everything, as the precision is there with the axes and the extruder, but the slicing has a lot to do with how your prints turn out. So let's go straight into color printing. So this is one of the first prints we printed here that we sliced ourselves. So we got different colors here. I'm not sure, I think I did this wrong, but yeah, we're supposed to have different colors on each side. But here we have the X, the Y, the Z's on the bottom. So you guys can see it actually did a great job. We have a different color here, so we have 4 different colors here on this cube, and that's a lot of color changes, which produced this purge block, which is not too heavy. But we also have a contribution of these little poops here that you guys see to the side. So the next one I printed, which was supposed to be just dual color white and gold, and you guys can see we definitely had an issue, as I had a lot of color bleed. And this is before I realized that I did make a mistake on this slice. First of all, I didn't tell the printer what color I was printing. I just changed the filament in the ACE Pro without setting the colors here, which I think made it not know how much to purge, because I do believe that it's quite smart, as if it knows the colors, it knows that it needs to purge more between light colors and darker colors. So even though gold is not technically a dark color, but you guys can see we still had quite a bit of bleed. I did correct it somewhat as it went up here in the display, where you can adjust the purge amount while it's printing, which I realized that later, and you guys can see down here where it was completely white how clean it's supposed to be. So, but overall, it still turned out. It all printed. It all looks great. This was the footprint of where it had to stick to the build plate, and it stuck. So I had no issues whatsoever with the PEI sheet. Everything sticks very well and stays stuck, and then pops right off when it cools off. So yeah, very nice print. Great overall, except for the color bleeding. It's pretty impressive. And here we can see the purge block for this whole print. Again, it's not too thick or too heavy, but there's some weight to it. And again, a lot of poopies here to the side. Now here's a print that I believe we've seen already, but we can see that it looks really nice. And this is the one that was included with the printer. Turned out very well, very clean. And this is the purge block to it, which wasn't too large. Actually, it was on the smaller side. If you're going to do color printing, just understand that it will take time. It's not so much how big the model is compared to how many color changes it has to do. So you actually get more efficiency with a bigger model compared to a smaller one, which I'm about to show you guys. This model here, which took forever to print. We do have 4 different colors: white, blue here, purple, and gold. And I painted this myself in the slicer. Not sure how well I did, but we have different colors. Unfortunately, something happened. It didn't finish at the very top here on the head, but thankfully we got pretty much throughout the whole way. But this print here was over 15 hours. I think it was like 18 hours, which is pretty incredible. And it had so much little poops here, but also pretty large tower too. So again, the printer does extremely well with the quality and the slicing and the overall printing part of it. Just considering how much filament you use is also a factor in color printing. So here we have another color print that I painted myself, or colored in the slicer, and you guys can see it turned out actually pretty nice. I love this Sigma in gold. It looks beautiful. So we got white. So there was an overhang there that kind of drooped. I didn't use supports, but in any case, we got white, blue, white, and then gold. And then we got this blue and white on the side, more blue and white on the top. So, and we do have the little DNA strand in the middle that's gold, but it's not perfect. But overall, guys, you can see the qualities there and it looks beautiful. And that's the important part about the color printing, is it can do a great job. And again, you do have to slice it really good for it to get a good quality. And here we have the purge block for that print. Again, not too bad. So here we have a more simple one that was included with the printer. So it's like a, I guess, a can opener or whatever, but it's just in dual color here. And this is our purge here, pretty small. So yeah, for something flat and minimal like this, it actually is not too bad for the color print. Here we have just a more normal kind of print, which was printed in single color. This one I actually sliced straight from the app on Anycubic. So you just find it and then send it to the printer. And these are two individual pieces. So we got this pumpkin, I guess, and the peach, and then in green we got the stem part, and the stem just kind of slides in there, which I thought was pretty cool print. So yeah, that was kind of fun to print, and you guys can see it looks really good overall. So you can slice an STL file just using your phone and sending it to the printer. So we also did spiralized mode, as the two rockets you guys see here. The little one here is actually in TPU, and as you guys can see, it didn't turn out perfect as we got some gappage there. And I believe I had the speed up a little too fast. It can print TPU, but you know, you do have to kind of mess with the settings a little more. Because this is, you know, one layer all around, it's pretty bendable here. Slowing down would have probably resulted in a much better quality, but yeah, this is what we got. And then our large one here is in spiralized mode. It is the full height of what this printer can print, which is around 260 millimeters. And this thing turned out really good, guys. The bottom, the walls are just stunning. So the printer does have really good precision with the dual Z-axes that are tethered. And yeah, overall just minimum ghosting and looks really good. Now when we do get here to the top, we do have a cooling issue, and one of the reasons for that is we are printing at higher temperatures, and when it gets to something this thin, it just melts too easily compared to the amount of cooling it has. So yeah, it could probably do a little better if I turned down the nozzle temperature, but we probably wouldn't have got this nice finish here if it wasn't hot enough. So yeah, but again, that's something that needs to be fine-tuned in the slicer for whatever you're printing. But yeah, as you guys can see, the printer performs very well. The part that really stuck out to me is how we can just pull this thing out of the box with the ACE Pro, connect everything, and just start printing color prints. Now with that said, it's not without its drawbacks. As you guys can see here, we have a lot of the purge poops, and there's a whole mountain over here of them, and they go all the way around kind of to the front. And that's one thing to consider if you want to do this kind of printing with multicolor, is you're going to have a lot of purges. Now if you slice your models wisely, or I guess more purposely, you can get more output compared to this, what you see here. Because I'm doing just small models one at a time, we're going to have a lot of waste. If you plan for multi models and shapes and whatnot else, where you can print more instead of change more, that'll be a little more efficient, obviously. But if you're just, you know, kind of having fun and printing fun things, be ready to accept a lot of this waste, not including also these purge towers, which we'll put over here as a reminder. But with that said, guys, the ACE Pro box is quite impressive because the printer itself is quite capable, but with the ACE Pro, it just takes it to a new level. And you can also use the box as a filament dryer while printing, or even just on standby. And it just has a very clean and easy setup that just works. And you guys can see we do have the single spool here still installed at the moment because I used it for TPU, as the ACE Pro doesn't support TPU as it's too flexible to go through the whole system. So I just got the external tube here and one of the ACE Pro tubes disconnected. So yeah, the printer is very versatile, and again, everything just works. And we get a very good build volume of 250 by 250 and 260 millimeters tall. It does print very fast. As you guys see, the benchies come out beautiful at 15 minutes. It has vibration compensation built in. Out of bed leveling, nothing to worry there. You just turn it on and it calibrates itself. This mechanism here for cleaning out and shooting the purges out works very well. No issues there. The cutter here is pretty unique how it operates. All the cable and hose management is very nice. We do have this cable in the front that goes from the ACE Pro. Would have been maybe a little nicer if it was somewhere to the back, but you know, not a big deal. We got adjustable belt tensions on the Y and X. The touchscreen works very well. I wish it would had smaller bezels, but other than that, it's a great screen. And we are tethered with the dual Z's, which seem to be very accurate, as we can tell by this spiralized spaceship. Also, we're running on rods with metal rollers. The direct drive extruder works very well. I love this little Anycubic glowing light here. And the ACE Pro is quite clever with its RFID color registrations if you use the Anycubic Filament, obviously, but it's very easy to change it. So yeah, just everything works flawlessly. The software, the slicing, even the app on the phone. The only thing I have to say about the box is that your spools do need to be straight, so if they're made out of that cardboard and they're dented, that could be an issue. But as long as the spool is not bent, it works very well. You can connect a USB camera and have live view. So if you want to get into color printing, I feel like you can't go wrong with the Kobra 3 combo. So if you are interested in this combo, or maybe just the printer itself, I'm gonna have some links in the description. Check it out. And if you did enjoy this video, then hit that like button. Stay tuned for more videos as we have pretty interesting things coming up. And also check out the 3D printing playlist. I'm sure you'll find something interesting there. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.